All right, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints here for a little bit. Look, the Saints had a really nice draft. I think overall, a lot of people gave it really good grades. They got a lot of value. I think, in my personal opinion, it was a really nice job top to bottom. And not only was it a good draft in terms of a lot of their picks, but I think they actually pulled off what I think maybe one of the biggest steals of the entire NFL draft. And that is, of course, picking up quarterback Spencer Rattler in the fifth round. And we've got an article that we're going to go into really in depth why this has a chance to be a massive get for the New Orleans Saints. Let's jump into the article first, though. This is courtesy of ESPN. If the Saints had drafted Rattler in the third round, the pick still would have made my list of the top steals of the draft. Stealing him in the fifth round gets an even higher ranking. Rattler's toughness as he battled adversity at Oklahoma and South Carolina impressed me. He has a big arm and good mobility, and he is fearless in the pocket. He can be developed potentially as a future starter. Look, I agree a lot with ESPN's reporting there. I think Rattler is probably one of the more underrated prospects coming out of this draft class. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are. But first, Saints fans in the comment section below, give us your favorite draft pick that the Saints made over the draft weekend. There's a lot of really good ones, from Rattler himself to maybe the first round pick or maybe any other pick. Give us your favorite Saints draft pick in the comment section below. But Miles, give me your thoughts on the Saints drafting Spencer Rattler and what it means for New Orleans going forward.
I think this is a great pickup for the Saints, and I like the way they went about it. I like where they got Rattler in the fifth round. I think that's great value for them because this is a guy who was on the boards. Everyone knows the talent that he has. He's always been known to be a very talented quarterback. He won the Elite 11 coming out of high school, came into Oklahoma. He did get benched for this guy named Caleb Williams, who turned out to be a pretty good quarterback, ended up going number one overall, so you can't fault him too much for that. But outside of that, I think this is a guy who really never got a fair shake to show what he was capable of. So I love the Saints are smart enough to see that, and they pick him up at great value. Because Spencer Rattler is a guy who came to Oklahoma, like I said, he redshirted, did really great his freshman year. I think he was pretty admirable, 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 7 picks. Gets benched second year for Caleb Williams, kind of flounders a little bit, moves over to South Carolina, immediately becomes a team captain for the Gamecocks there. I think that shows a lot about his character and what his teammates thought about him as well. And he did pretty good that season. I think he could have done a little bit better, but 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. But if you don't follow the Gamecocks, what you don't know is the following year, a lot of the Gamecocks' best weapons either hit the transfer portal or graduated. You talk about Jaheim Bell, the tight end running back hybrid who transferred over to Florida State, who was really good there, as well as running back Marshawn Lloyd, who went over to Southern Cal. A lot of Rattler's best weapons left the school, and he did even better his next year at South Carolina. 3,180 yards that year. Then he had 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So a better touchdown to interception ratio, better yardage as well. He just kept doing better no matter what hurdles that were thrown towards him. And this is a guy who's had hurdles thrown towards him throughout his career over and over and over again. So like I said, I think this is a guy who's uber talented. He has the big arm. He has the intangibles. He's 6 foot, 211 pounds. He's got some good size to his frame. I think he could be a really talented quarterback, but you have to be able to see through everything that he's gone through up until this point. And I think the Saints, seeing the run on quarterbacks early, they sat back, they waited, they bought their time, and were able to snag Rattler at a perfect position for them, take a chance on him, and I think they really are going to see some big-time dividends off of this pick.
Well, it's certainly undeniably a value selection. I know a lot of people had Rattler going third round, maybe sneak into the second round, but getting him in the fifth round, of course, obviously big value for New Orleans. But here's the interesting thing about Spencer Rattler. You kind of hit it on your comments there a little bit, is that the 1 year that he played in college football where he had a coaching staff, a talented group of players around him, and an organization that actually gave him support and believed in him, he was a Heisman Trophy potential candidate. And after that season, that was the 2020 season, a lot of people had him as the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy the following season. And many people had him slated as a most likely top 5, top 10 pick at quarterback after that next season. Again, so 2020 was that year. He threw for 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 7 picks, 9.7 yards per attempt, 68% completion percentage. That's at Oklahoma, right? After that season, his first full year as a starter, Lincoln Riley's the head coach. They got some good skill players. The entire organization is supporting him. He does fantastic. What happens the next season? They bring in Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is a great prospect, undeniably so. Obviously, Rattler loses that support. The coach ends up benching Rattler, going with Caleb Williams. Rattler then has to go on to South Carolina. Love South Carolina Gamecocks fans. Of course, I live in the state of South Carolina, but the reality is that is a coaching staff, that is a team strategy that's more focused on blocking punts and playing defense and winning special team situations than they are about offense. That's the reality. They have a total anemic lack of talent and strategy on the offensive side of the ball the past 2 seasons, and that's literally by design. And despite that, Rattler put up back-to-back 3,000-yard campaigns, was a team captain like you alluded to. So we're talking about his last 3 years of college football. He was in a situation each of those 3 years that wasn't conducive for quarterback success. The 1 year he did have a good situation, everyone thought of him as a top 10 pick. And that's really an interesting thing to consider when it comes to quarterback prospects, because we always look at how good these guys did, but we kind of forget so much of their success is predicated on where they play, who's playing around them. That's why guys fall in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth round and go on to be really good, really great players, right? You look at, of course, the Dak Prescott's, the Kirk Cousins, the Russell Wilsons. You can, of course, go back to the all-time greats like the Tom Brady's and Joe Montanas and things like that. There's a reason those guys are available late, and it's not because they weren't good players. It's because they weren't in great situations for a number of reasons. Spencer Rattler, in my mind, falls in a very similar vein where when he was put in a good situation, he was great. When he was put in a lot of bad situation, he was a great leader. He persevered, he toughed through, and was still very productive. He completed 68% of his passes the last 2 years at South Carolina on a really bad offense. That is commendable. So we know he's accurate. We know he's tough. We know he's mature. We know he's a leader, and we know he can put up points and yardage and be a volume guy as well. That sounds like a starting quarterback in the National Football League. I think the New Orleans Saints got themselves a guy here who could potentially supplant Derek Carr. In fact, when it's all said and done, I think Spencer Rattler may be the biggest steal of the entire 2024 NFL draft, because I think of all the non-first round quarterback prospects, in my mind, he was the guy that had the best chance to become a franchise caliber quarterback.
Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, even your relatives. It's all out there. That's why we use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows us which data brokers are selling our information and automatically submits opt-out requests for us.
Cleaning up our information not only reduces the amount of that stupid spam we all get, but it also protects us from hackers who could use this information to help them access our social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also does much more to protect us and our families from online threats. We also get features like antivirus protection, VPNs, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. That's really key. One location, get all this great stuff. It's really easy to set up. And the best of all, we get everything at one affordable price.
And you may already have one or two of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work to keep you safe so you can focus on other tasks and have peace of mind. We value our privacy and we value yours. You can go to aura.com/Saturday to start your 2-week free trial. Also, link below in the description. Again, aura.com/Saturday for your free 2-week trial.